Right, okay, so I'm talking to Elaine Graham here from Hawke's Bay. She has been a prominent reflexologist in the industry over the years. Hi, Elaine, thank you for talking to us today. Perhaps you'd like to start at perhaps the beginning. How did you get into reflexology?
Because my husband was very sick with rheumatoid arthritis, and the doctors, the medical professionals said there's nothing they can do. So I started on a real hunt to find out what we could do. And we did many silly things. We used to go to the beach and get seawater, and we'd bring it home and we'd boil it and we'd soak his feet in seawater. And then because his feet were so bad he could hardly walk, every night I bound him up with starch, like a poultice starch I'd got from the chemist. I'd bind his feet up so he could actually go to rest. He had such pain, it was really awful to see, and he wouldn't take any painkillers. He wouldn't take the aspirins that the specialists told him to take. He refused to take them. So we just started on a trek. We did all sorts of weird things too. A Maori man says, tell him to put potatoes in his pocket and walk around and they'll turn into stones. Well, the potatoes did turn into stones. They were as hard as a stone, but nothing happened with his arthritis. So we boiled up linseed, and he used to eat the slimy juice of the linseed. Everybody was giving us things to do, and we tried them all. We tried the maddest things out. Yeah. We would try anything to give him some relief, but it just didn't come. So we actually had to sell the farm. And we had an 18-foot caravan, and we travelled all over New Zealand looking for somewhere to live, and we decided on Napier. So we stayed here, and Napier has been wonderful to us. The climate was a lot warmer for him, and it gave him a breathing space so we could get into some sort of work. In 1986, our son came home from university, and he said, I want to go and see someone who looks in your eyes and tells you what's wrong with you. And I'd heard of this, and I knew there was a lady here, and her name was Denise Ferris at the time. She wasn't married then, but she later married, and she was Denise Ferris Helmbright. She was part Maori, and so I made an appointment and I took him there. And this is the road we went. And she examined him and she said, well, you haven't got asthma, but she said, you are an artist, aren't you? And he was studying music at Victoria. And he said, yes, I'm going to be a music teacher. And she said, there's nothing wrong with your lungs because he's a singer. And I used to wonder about this. She said, what you have got stress in your bronchals. And she said, we'll have to, do something about the stress. So we were talking, and then we left, paid the bill of course, and left. And as I was going out the door, Denise said, I want to see you. Will you come and see me next week? And I thought, what's wrong with me? She said, no, it's not an appointment. I just want to talk to you. So we made a time, and I went back the following week, and she said, Elaine, you are doing what I'm teaching. Because I was doing the special foods. I was on a vegetarian diet after eating meat 3 times a day pretty well. It's like on a farm. And she said, I'm amazed that you haven't, really got into this work. And I said, well, I'm too busy trying to get my husband well. She said, well, send your husband to me. So we did. And she put him on a herb called yucca. It's an Indian herb. And he immediately started to get better. And within about 6 months he was functioning really well. But no one would give him a job. As soon as they knew he had arthritis, they didn't want him. No. And so we changed roles. I went out to work full time. And Denise had said to me, Elaine, I'm having meetings every Monday night. Come. You will learn all you need to know to get your husband well. So I started going to her meetings every Monday night. I think I went for 3 years, every Monday night. She taught iridology, she taught reflexology, she taught anatomy and physiology, she brought doctors in. we were taught by a lot of doctors, and there was there was certificates and at the end there was qualifications, and so that's how I got into this work. That's where I learned about reflexology first, was Denise Humber, and she has helped so many people in Hawke's Bay. One girl I worked with, she said, "Have you heard of Denise Humber?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I was a drug addict. She got me off drugs." You know, you hear so many good things about her. And so all our family started to go. Our daughter had an accident. She went down a hydroslide in Gisborne. A man came down behind her, hit her in the back with both his feet and broke her back in 2 places. She was on a fracture ward in Cook Hospital in Gisborne. When we brought her home, she was in a full body brace. It was like looking after a baby. Every time I showered her, we had to take that body brace off, and she was vulnerable. We had things that she held on to, that I had to get into the shower and just wash her like I would if she'd been a baby. And one day she said, "The pain is just too great." So I took her back to the doctor, and he offered her, I'm trying to think of the drug he offered her. It was a painkiller, but it's addictive.
Morphine?
No, what was the one?
Pethidine?
The one they made from. They first found the drug in a natural thing.
Opium?
No, I can't remember what it was. So I said no, she can't take that. I said her boyfriend's a detective. He said she's not taking that, it's addictive. So I brought her home, and we said to him, send us to the specialist. We went back to the specialist. He said the same thing. So we came home. I said, "Would you go to Denise?" She said, "I'll go anywhere." So when I put her in the car, she could only either stand up or lie down. She couldn't sit down to a meal. She'd have to stand. We had a fridge that was about that high at the time, and she ate off the top of the fridge. So I took her down to Denise. Denise put her on something called SKL, which stands for skeleton, and number 8 cell salts. And within 3 days she was without pain. I was going to a massage course. The tutors were coming over from the Queensland Institute of Natural Science, because I had studied with them. And David said to me, "You're booked in to go to that course. Would you let Anna do it instead?" And she was still in this body brace at the time.
Yeah.
So I went over and I spoke to all the people that come over from Queensland to do the course, and they said, "We will look after her. We promise you, we will look after her." And so Marie and her husband, they had the Queensland Institute of Natural Science. They massaged her every day. She came back hot, carrying her body brace.
Wow.
And so, and they, they put her on all the right things, and today she's a naturopath, and she knows what it is to be in pain, and she knows what it is to be sick. She's a very, very successful naturopath in Taupo. And so that's how we got into this. When I was working with Denise, I heard about the reflexology course, which was a certificate course in Auckland. So I said to Anna, "I'm going to a certificate course in Auckland. I've enrolled with Dr. Killaby at the reflexology course in Auckland." And she said, "Well, I'm coming too." So her and I both went up. We'd drive up and back to each block course there was, and we both qualified there with reflexology. And the last weekend that we were having our course, Deanne broke her ankle. That's our tutor, and she didn't turn up, and Dwight Byers turned up, because he was coming to oversee everything. He used to go around all the schools, and it was our turn. And he said to the class, there was 25 in the class, he said, "I'm going to do the exam while I'm here." And we all just about fainted off our seats, because none of us felt we were ready, even though we've been studying all the year. Do you ever feel you're ready for an exam?
No.
So Dwight said, "I'll do it on Monday," and we all groaned, and he said, "All right, I'll give you till Thursday." So On Thursday, 6 turned up to do the exam and 3 passed. I was one. Anna, my daughter Anna, was the other one. She got the highest marks. And the other lady is a lady in Auckland. Sue's still there practicing in Auckland. And he went down and took exams in Christchurch and no one passed. He was tough. He was really tough. And he had to be, you know, to get the best. And the day that he gave me my certificate, I said to him, what can I do with this certificate? What am I allowed to do with this certificate? He said, are you willing to promote reflexology? He said, that's what we need. It's in its infancy all around the world. And he said, that's why I go around the world trying to get people to even try it, you know. So I said, yes. I said, I'm willing to promote it. He said, well, you can do anything but you're not allowed to copy my business card. I'll show it to you. I found it.
Yeah.
So I came back here to Hawke's Bay. I was doing other courses over at the Lotus Centre, which was a centre of learning. It's a private training establishment. And so I was doing other courses over there. I did anatomy and physiology. I did the New Zealand massage course and did that. I did all sorts of things. I did aromatherapy. I did anything. If you put a course in front of me, I did it. You know, because information is easily carried. And if you get someone who you can't do something with, you can actually do something else, you know. So I stayed studying over there, and then we were going backwards and forwards to Deanne doing postgraduate courses and going to AGMs and things like that. And I said to her, they've asked me at the Lotus Centrefold do just a short course to introduce it. And she said, all right. She said, I'll put it before the board. And she said, send us the course. Write the course, send it to us. And I did that. And I waited about a week and I thought, oh no, they're not going to let me do it, da-de-da, you know. But they did. And they rang me up and they said, you have permission to go ahead with it. So I went over and I told the directors over there, because they've got to plan everything too. I said, yes, I'm able to go through with it. And it was just Saturday and Sunday, you know. And I loved doing that, I really did. And Glenda was doing a big course over there, you know, it was a naturopathic course. So she slotted me in with the reflexology in her big course to be, you know, you could be a naturopath over there.
Yes.
So that's the part of the course I did. And I absolutely loved teaching over there. I loved it to bits. And when I went over there, they asked me to go over and open a new part of it, which I went over. The one thing I said to them, I don't ever remember being late. I said, because I couldn't wait to get here.
Whereabouts was that?
It's over in Hastings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's over in Hastings. I had to go over to Hastings to do all that study. There was nothing here in Napier. There was the EIT, but that was really very attached to, ours was really, you know, all natural stuff.
What sort of era was that?
That would have been in the 90s probably. But I started from when Hamish came home, because I went straight to Denise the following week and I was in her course the next time she put it up, you know, I was there. And she had loads of people there that were, you know, if she thought that they would add something to the course, she brought them in. There was always new people there. It was really, yeah, Dr. David Jacks was one of the ones he come in. There was other doctors came in, and there was other people that had expertise in other areas that she taught a really full course. And, you know, her clinic was also her teaching place. She used to teach weekends, and we would do weekend courses and we'd do, you know, catch-ups and reruns and all sorts of things. She was very, very good. She was a terrific teacher. I thank her. I thank her for all our good health, because she was the one that really started it. when I went to Auckland, there was another wonderful lady up there, Dr. Killaby. That was her maiden name, and she ran the reflexology school up there. She had qualified with Dwight in London. She was over there getting her doctorate, which she did. That's why she was doctor. She come from a long line of medical people. Her mother was, she was a colonic therapist and did all sorts of other natural things, and a nurse to boot. Deanne had been a nurse. So they had a terrific medical background as well as all the other, so you got a good grounding. Wherever you went in those courses, you learned something new about the body. And the body to me is amazing. I'll tell you what, it just about, the first time when I went to the courses over at Denise's course, we had a doctor there and he put the single cell up on a overhead projector, and it was blown up, and I couldn't believe it. I was out of my seat before I knew I'd left it, and I was up on the stage behind him, and there was tears in my eyes. I said, what a miracle. I said, it's like a whole city. Here was this cell with, everything, where the ATP's made and everything, I said, this is absolutely wonderful. And I looked up and he had tears in his eyes too. He said, that's why I'm a doctor. He said, it's absolutely wonderful. So, and I loved all that. I absolutely loved learning. And when I passed it on to my students, I made it as I would not go ahead until everybody knew what we were talking about. Because I'd sat in front of lots of tutors that leaned against a table and read out of a book, and I could do that at home. Yeah. You have to nurse your students through.
How many students did you teach?
Sometimes you had to have at least 8, but sometimes I had 17, sometimes I had 24,
wow.
So. And a girl came into my class about halfway through my teaching time there, and she was in the St John's ambulance. She was she did all the rushing around when people had heart attacks and things, and she absolutely loved the work, absolutely loved it. She'd blocked herself all those times that she couldn't go at the ambulance so she could come to them all. And at the end of the course, she passed well, and she said to me, I wish I could come back next year. She said, do you think I'd just come back and sit in again? I don't want to pay anything again, but I just want to learn it all over again. And I said, well, I'll talk to the directors, and I can't give you any promise, So I told them, I said, this girl's got a great love for people. Yeah. I said, she's got a great love for getting people well. I said, she is practicing